Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we are back for another episode of the Libertarian Censored podcast, going over all the posts in the Libertarian Censored subreddit. First, we have the FBI spy on his campaign, set up and spy on his supporters, and buried the Hunter Biden laptop story, so he's going to punch them for a new and spectacular building. Yikes, from Clint Russell on Twitter, and I posted that, and that was his reply to Donald Trump's News Crew social post that if he gets reelected, he'll put give the FBI a new and spectacular building. And I said, Trump's a poser. He might try and look like a small government populist, but in reality he's far closer to Obama or Biden than he lets on. At least one of the GOP candidates has the right rhetoric on what to do with the FBI, and I linked to a tweet from Vivek Ramaswamy about how he was going to abolish the FBI. I think that's the libertarian option. You gotta abolish all these alphabet agencies. That's my thought on that issue. Then we have RFK Jr.'s campaign of conspiracy theories is PolitiFact's 2023 Lie of the Year from KFF Health News from Clorox, and I said, when the out group does it, it's conspiracy theories. When the in group does it, it's being skeptical. And that just goes to show you, it's all really in the eye of the beholder. Then we have, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson calls for reparations funding to reduce violent crime from nypost.com by Chabanay. And, I personally think if people want to pay reparations, I think they should be able to, but I don't think they should be, forced to do so. I think, the fact that people are forced to pay taxes to things they don't want, I think that's not a very libertarian position, I would say. Then we have a huge teachers union battle underway in Florida. Thank DeSantis. Once in place, it's nearly impossible to get rid of a public union. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis found a clever way to make it possible for MishTalk.com by Chabanay. And I would agree. I think that's good. We need to hold our officials accountable, especially when it comes to public school teachers. A lot of people don't want to hold them accountable because they want to support big schooling, and I don't think that is a libertarian option. We need to support small schooling, not big schooling, just like we need to support small business and small government, not big business and big government. So that's my thought on that issue. Then we have, start insisting to your favorite shitlib that Putin paid off the Maine Secretary of State to further draw sympathy to Trump's campaign, from Michael Malice on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, it only works when the DNC or their outlets say it. It's like Simon Says, politics is pretty much the adult equivalent in that game, people aren't going to believe it because Michael Malice is saying it, but if MSNBC says it, then people are going to believe it, so that's my thoughts there. Then we have San Francisco small business owners calling for help from the EpicTimes.com by Chabanay. And I would agree, if I was in San Francisco, we should be, we probably should be calling for help because of the anarcho-tyranny in place there. They let criminals get away with anything, so that's why you need to, I would say, arm up and defend your property by all means necessary. Then we have Dr. Matthias Dismet, Technocratic Totalitarianism, the Importance of True Speech, the Parallel Rise of Propaganda-Dependent Elites and Lonely Masses, and Need for a New Type of Politician from Robert Malone's Substack, and that's whatever by Chabanay. And I agree very much with that. We need to hold our politicians accountable, and right now that's hard with all the propaganda on the internet. So I think the thing is, we just need to have a new type of politician who breaks all the rules. Like, people say Trump breaks all the rules. He really doesn't. He acts like it, but he really doesn't. We need a real politician who breaks all the rules and says, no, I'm just gonna, like someone like Javier Milei or Argentina. He's really doing all the deregulation and all that. I think that would be nice. Maybe like someone like me, if I could ever make it, I would say, I'd just issue the one executive order. I'd say no more forced collectivism. All state, local, and federal governments are hereby disbarred. Then we have Mainstream Economics Medieval Infiltration Medicine by James K. Galbraith from ProjectSyndicate.org by Chabonet. And I agree, the thing is, we really haven't changed our tactics to fight inflation since the Romans. And, it shows because, the inflation was one of the leading causes of collapse for the Roman Empire. And I think it could be arguably be one of the leading causes of collapse for the American Empire. Then we have prosecutors say they will not pursue second Sam Bankman-Fried trial from CNBC.com by Chabonet. And I think that just goes to show you how the elites, they always find a way to weasel out of it. And this is just another example of it, because Sam Bankman-Fried, even if he is in prison currently, he's never going to be held fully accountable for defrauding all the people, since he was one of the biggest campaign donors to Biden, I would say. Then we have Stop Funding War from it's a tweet from Orion Dyer, who tweeted, hashtag Christmas gets the American people, U.S. to Saudi Arabia, here's $1 billion, U.S. to Israel, here's $324 billion, U.S. to Ukraine, here's $250 million, U.S. to Americans, sorry you lost your home, sleep in your car. And I would agree very much with that. That's pretty much just one by way across from the anti-war subreddit. And I would agree very much with that notion, because the thing is that the U.S. government always throws money away on pointless things like other countries or transgender monkey studies, and that's something that we should really try and stop. If we are going to spend taxpayer money, we should probably help the less fortunate in the U.S. rather than other countries or bullshit scientific studies. Then we have a transgender woman who has been incarcerated in a men's prison in Georgia has filed a lawsuit against the state's Department of Corrections, GDC, along with two of its for-profit medical contractors for denying her gender-affirming care from LGBTQNation.com by Chabonet. And I said, I didn't comment on this one, but I do think, you don't really have a right to healthcare since it since it involves the labor of others. And with that being said, I think if taxpayers want to use their taxpayer money to fund a transgender woman in prison's gender-affirming care, they should be able to. I don't think they should be forced to do so. And that's something that, is ultimately what, it's ultimately up to the individual discretion of what they want to fund it or not. Then we have, if your comment/post aren't getting any interaction of your subs, check to see if you are shadow banned from Whittling Dan. And they said a noticeable number of subs, including some neighbors, have stopped banning people instead of reverted to shadow banning. You see your comment but get no votes to replies. Check it by opening your comment in incognito mode and see if it's still there. It seems a lot of ban-happy subs are pushing shadow banning, which doesn't give the user a notice. As much as we have turds in the punch bowl here, but here at least it's a bit different. Turds don't get banned, just called out and downvoted. What a bittersweet taste. I appreciate that about the sub. And I said, shadow banning is horrible. You can get censored without even knowing it. That's just how it goes. They can even censor you without even knowing it these days, and that's something that's really scary. How prevalent censorship is in regards to the internet these days. Then we have Masad Ayub, concealed carry or open carry, and that's a YouTube video from Lincoln's 42, posted by Lincoln's 42. It's from the Wilson Combat channel, and I said, whatever each person wants, I guess. If a person wants to conceal carry, I think they should be able to conceal carry. If they want to open carry, I think they should be able to open carry, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, I think that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, it's time for universities to share the burden of student loan defaults from thehill.com by Chabonet. And I would agree on that. The thing with student loans is that, you did take a loan and you decided to pay it back. But I do think, the university system in the United States is a complete scam. And I do think, we need to be aware, people do need to be aware of that. And hopefully, if people can't afford to pay back their loans, I do think if people want to use their money to help them pay them back, I think they should be able to. But I don't know if the university should be forced to do so. That's the thing. But ultimately, it comes down to who has the force and authority to do what in this, as it does to every situation. Then we have a U.S. Department of State's Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund. Ballroom saves lives. Resiliency must improve ballroom aims to uplift transgender and gender diverse youth leaders in Lima, Peru from alumni.state.gov. And that's the number my Chabonet. And I think if people want their tax dollars going to that, I think they should be able to spend them on that. But I don't think they should have their tax dollars forced to be going to that, because a lot of people don't really like to support transgender and gender diverse people, and through tax dollars that they're pretty much forced to do so. And I don't think that's the libertarian option. I think the libertarian option is you should be able to support whoever you want to support, and if you don't want to support someone, you shouldn't be forced to do so. And forced taxation is kind of a way that they get around that. Then we have exactly, Obama promised to close down Gitmo on the campaign trail as well, and we all know how that went. And that was a tweet I made in reply to Joel Ellenwood, who replied to Clint Russell's tweet with as good as Vic sounds, as well intentioned as he'll always remember it's easy to say things people want to hear on the campaign trail. And it's a meme from Gravity Falls. It's a piece of paper that says campaign promises, and Dipper goes, well, this is worthless. And I said, yeah, exactly. Obama promised to close down Gitmo on the campaign as well, and we all know that went. I do think, the politicians, it's like, I linked also to Jib Jab's 2008 election song. It's every president's election, the candidates will always tell you what you want to hear, and then they'll spin you around and poke you in the rear. They're always going to stab you in the back when they get into power. That's why you should never trust what a politician says. You always have to be skeptical, and that's something that I'm very passionate about, is being skeptical of the politicians and the elites. Then we have St. Joe's drops contract for professor involved in free speech controversy from Broad and Liberty, and I posted that, and I said, this happened here at my own water relatively recently. I had a class professor the article's about. He got fired for not supporting reparations on his mom's Twitter account. It's not surprising, sadly. We had never pressed her on Fox News saying that people were going to drive because of Trump's election. And my academic advisor had a picture of Lenin in her office. Keep in mind, this is a relatively conservative Catholic school. Also, I remember hearing that we couldn't have a Chick-fil-A in the campus food court because the student LGBT group didn't like it. It ended up being a Subway instead. That just goes to show you that even at the relatively conservative schools, the progressive agenda is in full force. You're not allowed to dissent. You're not allowed to say anything that goes against the narrative, or they'll come after you for it. And that's something that, I think increasingly we live in a very intolerant culture by the people who say they are the most tolerant people of all time. And that's something that's increasingly, I think we should be able to voice our opinion on that. Then Clorox commented, even though no wrongdoing by Manco was found, the university decided not to renew his contract as a visiting professor for the following semester. The university blamed shifting enrollment numbers and ongoing budget considerations for the tweets. And I said, people can make excuses and lie. Who could have thought it? That's the thing. They'll find a way to lie about it, and that's increasingly how they can control the narrative. Because if people lie, but it's only when they're in the in-group. They'll never call them out on it. That's my thoughts on that issue. And we have the fallacy of collective rights from Red Ink Plant 01, and it's a self-post from them, and they said anyone who pushes the fallacious notion of collective rights is pushing an agenda of entitlement pushed through government violence. The only rights that exist are inalienable to the individual. There is no scientific evidence that shows rights are transferable, either to collective or form from there, so there is no such thing as a group, whether for race, gender, religion, sexual preference, etc. rights. And I would say I very much agree with that. Ultimately it's up to the individual first and foremost, and we need to defend each individual rather than defend collectives. that's always my approach to politics is what does each individual want, and we need to act accordingly, I think. And then we have Chief Judge Richard Myers issued an opinion on holding that the North Carolina Board of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors violated the First Amendment when it ordered retired engineer Wayne Nutt to stop expressing opinions about engineering valid by state license. And that's from LJ.org, the Institute for IJ.org, Institute for Justice, from Chabanay. And I agree that's definitely a free speech violation, I would say. Then we have Malaysia McDonald's sues Israel boycott movement for $1 million damages from CNBC-TV.18.com for International Silver One, and I'd agree. That's across from the Palestine suburb, by the way, and I agree. I think, if companies want to sue anyone, they should be able to, but, I don't know if this is, if you want to, I personally think people should be able to boycott whatever they want and not face legal repercussion for it, but that's just my opinion on the issue, I would say. Ultimately, I think all decisions from the courts are illegitimate, and I think that, it's up to each individual decision of what they want to accept or not. Then we have Bill Clinton to be unmasked as Doe 36 identified more than 50 times in Jeffrey Epstein doc dump from nypost.com and I posted that, and I said, probably tons of other elites in there as well. Then we have Eamon Bundy makes veiled threats while in hiding after $52 million defamation ruling from independent.co.uk. And that's by Baton 13. And I said, I say defamation is not defamation is not libertarian. It goes against free speech. And I think we might wrap it up there. Let's see, check one more time. Yeah, I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.